On this episode, Beth Comstock and her incredible new book are here. I think you're going to love this episode. Hey everybody, it's Gary Vaynerchuk. This is episode 291 of the Ask GaryVee show. I'm super excited about this. We have somebody who I've gotten to know very well in my professional career in the last decade or so, somebody I admire quite a bit from afar, and really interestingly, and this is fun for me to say, and it's fun for me to say with you in the room, I think I'm starting to get on this kick of saying things I believe that are nice about people to them, because I don't think we do that.
Oh, that's nice.
You'll like this one too, I think, Beth. I admire you so much through the eyes of others. It's amazing, because of the circles we run in, for a lot of even entrepreneurially and author and personalities and corporate collide into people that we both know. There's a lot of people that we both know.
Yeah.
A lot of them I'll meet for the first time or things of that nature. However it gets brought up, over the last 5 or 6 years, the one thing I've noticed is the way people talk about you behind your back with no vested interest is awesome. It's like I so dream about that's what's happening with me, and so maybe that's why I take note.
Wow, that's nice to hear.
But you're at the top. If I came out with a list of like top people rankings that are having nice things said about them behind them back with no vested interest, because people say nice things about people, but it's a move.
Yeah.
And I can't be tricked, so I know when that's happening a lot. Thus, it makes me like you even more than I like you by myself.
That's nice to
because
hear.
I know
Thank
it's
you.
consistent regardless of the scenario. So that's the intro I want to say. You've got a new book coming. I didn't ask you. Coming out?
Coming out.
What? Coming out?
It's coming out Tuesday, September 18th.
Amazing. So here we are.
And thank you for the blurb.
Thank you for asking me. I was super flattered. We're going to get into it in a minute. So Beth Comstock is, in my opinion, a dynamic force in communication, executives, and just human. I'm going to let her do her.
Glad you added that part.
You got it. Beth, if this was if this was comic book number one, who are you? And I'm talking like I was born in, like, give me 3-4 minutes. I love context. I think it frames up everything. And I'd like to get 3-4 minutes out of you on like who you are, like from coast to coast.
Yeah. Well, I like that. I was born because I grew up in a small town in Virginia, and my parents came from West Virginia. So, we talked with a Southern accent.
Yeah.
So that was the upbringing.
Like a West Virginia accent is real.
Yeah. No, my great uncle started a newspaper franchise in West Virginia called the West Virginia Hillbilly. So I have real deep hillbilly roots.
That excites me.
So there you go. So. But I grew up in Virginia.
Yep.
My parents moved there. Small town, as I said, small town girl. It was a great place to grow up. I mean, it was nurturing. My dad was a dentist. My mom was a school teacher.
It was real good.
I have a brother and sister, and that was my world.
Yeah.
Yet I felt like I wanted to see the world.
Did you read a lot?
I read a ton.
So it's interesting, it's funny why I ask questions. I'm so fascinated by communication. I'm aware that you're not 19, but you're also not 91. So you're painting
somewhere in the middle,
right? You're painting this picture for me, and I'm like, okay, a woman of that generation in that scenario, is it born in you? You're intuitively like, I'm a big city girl, or was it reading? Or TV, like the next, if you said no, literally I would have said to you, did you watch the news a lot? Like, did you think Walter Cronkite was cool? Like, to me, I'm fascinated by that stuff. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question. I mean, it was two things for me. I think it was reading. I spent every summer like just devouring books. I loved fiction like crazy. And then for me, it was geography. I loved school, but I remember 5th grade, like I would get so excited about geography. I just
like filling in the map.
But like, who are those people, and what? And I've recently joined the National Geographic Board, and I'm so excited because it's like that 5th grader again.
That's
like,
awesome.
So that I think instilled in me. There's this whole world out there. And what is it? And my family didn't travel a lot. I mean, we drove everywhere. I think I didn't get on an airplane until I graduated from high school. That was my first trip.
Were you scared?
I was scared. My mother was a school teacher, as I said, and she took me on a teacher-sponsored trip to Europe. And it was on my first flight, and I was 18, and we could drink then. And I ordered a double gin and tonic.
Yes.
And my mother was like,
"What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah, she was like, I think she was just shocked because I knew how to order a double.
Double gin. Yeah.
Exactly.
All
So
that
I
reading
remember
helps.
exactly. I remember that flight very well.
That's so cool. Okay, so what happens? You were a great student.
Great student. I went to school in my home state, College of William and Mary.
Yep.
Funny, I just found this notebook, and when I was 14, I found my autobiography when I was 14.
No way.
There was not a lot to be excited about when
Did
I
you
was
take
14.
pictures of that
I did.
and put it on Insta?
I haven't put it yet, but I
You
took
have
it.
to
I will.
social media that out.
I will. It was really
Team?
fun to
That's
see.
real shit.
Yeah, it's fun.
Go ahead.
But what I said in 14, my autobiography is not as I'm ambitious. I want to be 50 different things in my life. And I said, I want to see the world. So even at 14, I had that sense.
Wow, the 14-year-old version of you nailed it.
Yeah, it was amazing.
No,
yeah.
you really nailed it.
Yeah, although I
Super
did
cool.
say I wanted to be a lawyer at one point in
Okay.
those 50 things. That
We've
must
all
have
done
been
that. I
one
think I said
day.
astronaut
Did
at
you
one
ever
point.
want to be a lawyer? No.
I know I wanted to be. I've only found one thing ever that showed me. My whole life, I thought I wanted to be, a businessman because it really was early for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, but I was devastated. I found a picture of me in kindergarten and said I wanted to be a cowboy, and I was like, fuck.
But didn't you maybe grow up to be a cowboy?
Hey, listen, this is how interpretations are fun. Okay, very cool. So you went to school. Then what happens?
Then I go to school. I studied biology. Thought I was going to go to medical school.
Okay.
But what I really wanted to do as I got into it was I wanted to be a science reporter.
Interesting.
So because I was a biology major, I tried to take more writing classes. And
were you like really into TV?
I was into TV, but I wanted to just report. And so,
But you wanted to report on TV.
I did want to report on TV.
So there's a fun dynamic there. Knowing now enough about you, Monday morning quarterbacking, it comms, communicate. Like that's an interesting part because I think some people may default into vanity, and I default into scale. Go ahead.
To me that because I grew up watching TV. I was a kid of TV. But
Sure.
my first job was my last year.
Real quick, and I apologize. What was your favorite TV show as a kid? You think?
There were so many.
Rattle off a few because this will be fun for me personally. This is
Well,
me just
I was a
having
kid
fun.
who watched reruns after school every day.
Yes,
so these
me
were,
too.
like I Dream of Jeannie,
Yep.
Gilligan's Island. I don't know,
best.
like they're all from the 50s and 60s.
No,
but
by the way, I watched both of those shows.
I loved those shows. The Brady Bunch. I mean, all those
too.
kind of things. I loved those.
My core thing coming after school reruns. Three's Company. The Facts of Life.
Oh, no, I hated
Yes.
that one.
Oh God, The Facts of Life was so good.
I hate Charlotte Ray and
Yes.
I hated
Did
Tootie.
she
Was
just-
it Tootie?
Okay, you're a really good TV person. This might divulge. Beth, we better stay focused here because this might turn into an entire podcast
TV
of
trivia?
TV trivia.
I don't know. You might.
I can't.
win.
I literally was about to say Tootie. I think Charlotte Ray just passed away.
I think she did. Yeah, she was a good
okay,
character.
so you wanted to be a science reporter,
So I wanted to be a science reporter.
Mrs. Garrett, for everybody out there. That was the character.
But so my
Real
first,
quick, Beth. I'm sorry. I'm very helter-skelter. I know everyone's mad at me. Do you know that Mrs. Garrett first appeared on Different Strokes, and that spun off The Facts of Life?
No, I didn't know that.
Bam.
I didn't know that.
Step it up here. All right, go ahead.
So yeah, and then my first job was I was a senior in college and I worked in public radio. I worked in the local public radio station in Norfolk, Virginia. And I remember going home to my hometown and spending a day with the migrant apple pickers, and they were singing beautiful songs as they picked their apples. And I was just smitten. I wanted to be a storyteller.
Wow.
So then I tried to work my way, and I had no confidence. So my first job, I went to work covering the Virginia House of Delegates for like C-SPAN of Virginia in the day. And I did everything. I worked behind the camera. I learned to register camera. I learned to edit. I was in front of the camera. I was like a Jackie of all trades. And I tried to get my first job.
I apologize real quick. Team, I need a Jackie of all trades t-shirt made. I'm not kidding. Right now, this is going to be the most meta thing ever because I'm going to wear this in 4 months, like on a flight. Somebody's going to see it, and they're going to be blown away that it exists. I'm not kidding. Make a note, Caleb. I want a Jackie of all trades t-shirt made. I want somebody to draw it. We have that skill. Get Caesar on it right now. He's going to kill it. I want a Jackie of all trades t-shirt made, and I'm going to wear it.
I want to see that.
You want? Let's get
I would
for
like one
Beth.
too. Thank
and
you.
Molly too. 3. And I'm not kidding. I want it to be rare because I'm going to sell mine on eBay one day. 3 t-shirts. Jackie of all trades. Molly, Beth, me.
Jackie J.
Well, it depends on
Jackie, I think. I don't know. You know, Jack of all trades. I was
You're
the
doing all the
Jackie
right
of all
things.
trades.
Jackie of all trades t-shirt, women's cut for them. Like, you know, these are gonna be premium. Like,
Yeah,
you don't want a women's
no
cut?
bulky thing. Yeah, no
You
bulky.
want a men's cut? Because you're gonna what?
No,
like,
I
okay,
like.
you want
I
women's?
like.
Okay,
No, I want women's cut. Yeah.
you want okay. 2, get sizes. You know what I love about this? Somebody's gonna see your name on the podcast, and they're like people that don't follow me. They're gonna see that and be like, "Ooh, I want to listen to that," and they're gonna be like. They definitely didn't think that Mrs. Garrett from The Facts of Life and a Jackie of all trades t-shirt conversation would be going on.
No, I didn't
And
either.
This is
I
not
didn't
necessarily the format that is. Okay, go ahead, Beth.
No,
Anyway.
so one story about trying to make it as a TV reporter was I lacked confidence.
Yes.
But I also had a resilience at the same time. So I was working in Richmond, Virginia, and I finally had a tape because as Jackie of all trades, I did get to make a tape every now and then. I got to interview a few members of the House of Delegates. So I made it a thing to send my tape to the local TV station. It was Channel 12, Richmond, Virginia.
Love her.
And the news director would never take my call.
Yep.
He would never do anything, but I called every day. I called every day at about lunchtime. I would call him.
Love.
And finally, after about 4 or 6 months, he said, he picked up the phone and he goes, listen, I'm never going to hire you. You look too young. You have no experience. Why would I ever hire someone who looks as young as you? Really, you're not going to make it in this business. And I was devastated. But after that, I was speechless. Like I'd never had anyone speak.
Right.
But after that, it was like this sort of anger grew up in me. I was like, you don't know me.
Did you say that or did he hang up?
He hung up and I hung up. I was
by the
in
way,
shock.
I get it. I look at me. I'm a character, and I've had those kind of moments, so I get that. So you hang up, and you went quickly. Did you go? I'm very curious about this question, Beth. Did you go sad for the day, for lunch, for a week, for a month, or did you literally go sad to that place in your head?
No, I went sad for a couple of days, probably weeks even, because I sucked my
This is
thumb.
important.
I was like, because again, I didn't have a lot of confidence, and I was like, well, this guy says I'm never going to make it. Ended up calling him Mr. Rant in my head. I'm sure I could go back and find his name.
Can we find his name?
I would have to do some sleuthing. Yeah, I don't know.
Thank you. Go ahead.
But Mr. Rant is what I called him, and it just grew in me. Like he doesn't know me. He doesn't define me. And so that always was pivotal to me because this kind of rebel, this resilience. Like I got to show you.
Look, this is a really interesting time to say something. Beth and I have had a really nice professional career. We haven't had that much time. Like, we're both so busy and It's really interesting. Literally, as you're telling this story, this specific piece, I'm like, and that's that. Like, literally, up until this moment, you're kind. Think about how I introduced this. Literally, until this second, literally now, I'm like, oh, this is why I've met many executives. There's lots of executives. Like, this kinship towards you that I've never really fully, I've actually, up until 4 seconds ago, always leaned on kind. This you being pissed the fuck off.
You should talk to.
That's fine, but I understand the I'm sure plenty of people. The macro is the macro. This thing is the thing.
Yeah, but I mean, you're making me remember that whole time of just trying to get started in a career. From there, I sort of worked a network. My dad was helping me, trying to get people he knew, and we were a small town.
Yeah.
He did two interesting things. One, when I was still in college, he had a patient who he was a dentist, and he had a patient who was a CBS News producer in Washington, which was about 2 hours away. I'm sure he got him in this lockhold with his molar, threatening
and he's
to
like,
pull
and
it
now.
out. And he's like, my daughter wants to get into television. What can you do for her? This guy said, well, I work with then Diane Sawyer, who was a young reporter at the State Department, not the Diane Sawyer she came to be.
Did you know who that was at that point?
I think honestly, I really didn't. And so I got to go and shadow her at a day at the State Department.
The fuck out of here.
Yeah. And she was so incredibly, she was just starting out.
Yeah.
She had just gotten back from Chad or something. But I would look for those little moments. It was just a fluke thing that.
Jump in here and, this is how I helter skelter. And then of course you've met her.
No,
Hold on. Real quick, because this is getting more fun by the second.
No.
You so threw me for a loop. Are you telling me in the last 20 years you've never run into Diane Sawyer?
And I have, but I've never said hi to her.
Call Diane Sawyer right now. Guys, Beth, this is,
No,
guys,
it's embarrassing.
Real quick, team, clip this, give it to me. I'm tweeting at Diane. This is going to be huge. You've seen her at events or nonprofit?
Because I grew up in media. I never worked at ABC. I did work at CBS. I worked at NBC. I worked at CNN.
Beth, help me here because this is getting more fun. Beth, how many times have you been in a physical same room or conference as Diane Sawyer? Tell the truth right now. How many times?
I've been in a conference with her at least probably 2 or 3 times. And once I had this sense that I was going to go say, remember, you would not remember this, but you made a big impression on me and I lost my nerve.
You would have made her. Do you understand?
I don't know. I was
No, I'm saving you time. You would have made Beth. You were such an all-time accomplished executive. I understand. I got it. But you're not a dummy. Meaning you're aware of what you've accomplished. You would make. I basically think I'm living my life right now, trying to do as much for all these young people on one thesis. In 29 years, some crazy successful people are going to roll up on me and be like, one tweet you made. Like, I can't wait for Beth Comstock to come up to me and say, Beth, this is crazy.
I know. Well, I didn't see her I saw her mid-career, let's say, but I was just I don't know. I was just like, what do I say? Like, hey, You say, hey, Diane Sawyer, do you remember in 19-something, I shadowed you. And I think the biggest question is, you're right, to your point, she'll probably not remember. She might, remember. Because here's where life's awesome. You might have said something weird. I didn't.
Fair enough. Because you didn't say anything?
No, I was such a good girl.
No. When quiet. I say weird, I apologize. I use funny slang. I use words in not the right way. You might have said something that caught her attention or started a thought, or maybe that day later at home something happened that made you remember. Maybe you were wearing blue shoes and something with blue.
Maybe.
You now have to do this, right?
Yeah, I
do.
The
cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, I do.
You know that. How many people are watching live on Facebook? Good. Can the 350 people on Facebook right now tweet both Beth Comstock and Diane Sawyer and tell them what's going on right now? Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. But she had great advice for me when I met her.
Is that true?
Yeah. She said, because I was like, I want to be a reporter. And she said, well, here's what I want you to do. I still remember, because this is the impact people like you have on young people. And so she was like, my brother was graduating from high school that night. And she said, okay, here's what I want you to do tonight when your brother's graduating. You have to have perspective. You can't go and think it's your brother. You have to assume he's not your brother. What's he doing there? What story are you telling? And again, that 2-hour session just meant the world to me.
That was awesome.
Yeah. So... Okay. And I never, but that was a pattern for me.
Good news. We fixed it.
Yeah, we did fix it.
Let's keep fixing. Go ahead. Tell me more on this pattern.
Well, no, I mean, this one I put in the book.
Go ahead.
In the sense that I shared a very similar version of this when I worked at CNN for a year.
You worked at CNN for a year?
I worked at CNN for 2 years.
What years?
It would have been early 90s, and it was during the first Gulf War. CNN.
That's for all the youngsters, that is the moment.
CNN
became CNN during the first Gulf War because it was 24/7, full access. It was almost the closest thing I could tell you to the internet. It was a 24.
Thank you for being my generation translator.
Yeah, I'm trying to help these kids.
But so Ted Turner, who was at his day the swashbuckling Steve Jobs of the media world at that day, they disrupted traditional media.
Yes.
And I did PR on occasion for him, and I worked there for a year, and he didn't know my name.
Okay.
And so I decided I was going to change all that. And I finally got at my nerve.
Chips on shoulders.
So unlike Diane Sawyer, where I never said hello, I finally got at my nerve, and I picked the worst time possible. I saw him going into the men's room. We were at the UN.
Flat out.
Getting an award. He goes into the men's room, and I go, now's my chance, as one does. And so he's coming out of the men's room, and there I am. And I'm like, hi, Ted. And he goes, oh, hi, in his southern accent. And he gives me this incredibly wet. Slimy handshake.
Keep going.
And he kind of looked at me like, what do you got to say? And I froze. Okay. I kind of looked down, and he walked away, and he zipped up his fly. And he never knew my name. But it was that moment where I just said to myself, you did it. I didn't care.
You were pumped?
I said hi to him.
You were pumped.
I was pumped.
I
was no longer I stepped away from the wallflower. I said hi.
Yes.
And I gave myself permission to get in there.
Now I really want to help people in the world, not kidding. How old were you when this happened?
I was 30.
This is important. This is super important. I talk a lot about lately 18, 22, and 30.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, these are it's funny. These three
Yeah.
ages are really playing with me. People are putting disproportionate pressure on themselves at these points in their lives when we're still remarkably young. You are like a big deal to a lot of people. And for them to hear a story that you were thrilled that you were awkwardly saying hello to somebody, and that was the net accomplishment. There was no next conversation. There was no, he heard something profound from you. And
He didn't even hear my name.
I hear it. It's unbelievable. Let me tell you about me at 30. I was packing boxes in a liquor store at 11:30 at night on December 21st because I wanted to get packages out for people the next day. This needs to be talked about, Beth.
It does. Why say 18 and 22? What's going on then?
I'm just looking at a lot of my, I listen a lot. There's a anxiety at 18, 22, and 30 that is remarkably high to me. 18, I think you're making that transition into college. 22, you're making that, or even if you're not going to college, you think you should be, or this and that. They're just watershed moments. The transition of graduation, because regardless, depending on who you are, you've decided you're a grown-up in all three of those ages, different than other numbers. 18, you're a grown-up. I guess 21 could throw it, but I'm 18, 22, I'm a grown-up. 30, holy shit, I don't have my shit together. I'm a grown-up. Those three are playing with me. I'm packing boxes in a liquor store. I'm in the warehouse. You are thrilled that this is important, Beth, because people think they have to have everything figured out at 29.
No, you don't at all.
And you know what's happening? Bad behavior.
Yeah.
Things that lead to depression, things that lead to substance abuse, things that lead to bad relationships, things that lead to, do you know how many people, Beth, do you know how many people maxed out their credit cards to buy Bitcoin at 15,000?
No, I would.
I'll tell you, a ton of people saw it go from, you saw what happened, and they bought at the top with credit cards because experts
was saying you have to do this.
100,000.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting the emails because I'm me.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
Do you know what paying 12% interest on 100,000 on a thing that's underwater? Like, why did they do that? Because they want to buy a plane. Because they want to be successful. Like, so anyway, I don't know. I'm sorry this is the purpose of this format for different stories. This is powerful to me. Maybe I'm reacting to it. You, at 30, just happy to say hello.
Yeah. And I bring it up because it is that moment where you're pushing yourself to do something you're not comfortable with.
Yes.
As a reserved, shy person, I realized I was standing in my own way too. I would go to meetings and people didn't know who I was. I'd worked with this guy for a year and he didn't know who I was. I mean, it wasn't like I wasn't in his office every day, but
you were in the mix.
I was in the mix, but yet I wasn't taking advantage of it. And so there are those moments when you got to say, like, I'm holding myself back. And that was one of those moments for me where it's, you're grabbing your own agency. Like, I got to do this.
Good for you. And then the momentum built.
And then momentum builds from there. And, I've used that approach to getting over introversion. I'm really the life of the party. I accept that. And I go to a event and, everybody's meeting. Hey, I'm, and I'm the first one over by the chip bowl or at the back of the room. And that's another place I've had to say, okay, I'm going to go meet one person. Like I would never probably have come and met you. But I would go find somebody else who looked like they were okay talking to me. And then the next time it's two people. Then the next time, then I'd say like, now I'm going to go talk to GaryVee. Mm-hmm. But that's after, it's behavior modification. It's after 10 times, I'm finally the confidence and less awkward to do that.
I love this. Real quick, because now I'll speed it up a little bit because I want to get the book and I want to answer a couple questions. So from CNN, now speed up the episode 1.
So I worked in a couple of different. I worked at CBS and I came back to NBC and NBC. I worked at NBC News. It was a formative job for me. I loved that job. It was one of my best jobs ever. The news division had undergone a real issue that they almost blew up the whole news division because of a scandal.
Oh, really?
And for me, it was what I loved about it was entrepreneurial. And I think that was my awakening, that you can be an entrepreneur in a big company.
Good.
And really kind of created a path for me. And then I worked my way through NBC, ended up going to GE. I got a call one day from Jack Welch.
What was the last job you had at NBC?
Well, I went to GE, came back a couple times. My last job was I led digital media at NBC, and I oversaw ad sales and then new stuff, and new things were iVillage and Hulu. So we had one that didn't go so well and one that went really well.
Keep going. Then Jack.
And then before that, I I got on the GE radar, and Jack Welch called me up to his office one day and said, I want you to come and work at GE. That was the last thing from my mind.
Sure.
I was going to be in media my whole life.
Of course.
Why would I go to GE?
Definitely not.
And I mean, he was on his way up to Jack Welch, the icon, but
Yes.
at that point he hadn't quite hit the big time.
But he was
he was CEO,
Okay.
and he had said he was important. The company was doing well, but
Yeah.
he was going to retire in 4 years. And in that 4 years I worked with him, he really sort of became superstar CEO of his day. And I learned a lot from that opportunity. But what I'd say from that is I didn't think why would I go to GE? GE owned NBC, but there was just something I felt I had. It was an opportunity. I could see the world. I could learn something new.
Was the See the World the big one for
I
you?
think the See the World
was that
it.
the one?
I think that was it.
Yeah.
And I remember standing by the elevator after I'd announced I was going to GE, and one of my NBC colleagues was like, they sell light bulbs, right? Like you're
Yeah.
leaving NBC to go sell light bulbs?
Yeah, I get it.
And I was like, yeah, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
I didn't know why, but that's always, I guess, a theme for me.
Yep.
I kind of pick these things anyway. And so from there, I just spent the bulk of my career doing marketing and innovation work at GE, seeding businesses, pushing for change, and that became my thing.
It's really cool. What's the book about?
The book's about pushing for change. I'm pretty consistent. Yeah. And what I try to do with the book is make it very personal and share stories early to mid-career. I'm really trying to reach people early to mid-career to say, we've all had to start somewhere, and you just got to get out of your way and don't ask permission or give yourself permission and try to make change happen. I try to highlight the bad behavior that we all have to deal with at work when people want to make change happen, and share my stories of things that didn't work, things that worked. So that's what I'm trying to do with it. Hopefully inspire with a story, give people practical tools. And we intentionally call Imagine It Forward. It's about how we need people to fight for the future of our companies and make change happen.
I love it. Andy, give us a quick question, since it is the Ask Gary Vee show.
Quick question. Hi Gary, you and Beth talk about execution, creativity, taking risks, etc. How do we make sure our future generations inherently learn that failure is a stepping stone, since our educational system education infrastructure lacks teaching us that?
Your thoughts?
I love that question. I would have written that question if I could have. And that's why the cover of my book has this wad of rainbow paper, because there is a failure message here. And I love this question because we're not doing that. I worry just deeply about how we're educating our kids. You talk to any high school teacher, college professor, they'll tell you students are anxious about not knowing the answer, about having to be perfect. So how are you raising your kids that way? I tried to instill in my kids creativity, taking risks as much as I could. I'm sure I wasn't perfect, but I feel like we don't do enough of that in our school system.
I mean, I genuinely believe I'm the poster child in the other direction. I'm literally making
Making your
videos.
kids code every day?
Well, no. I mean, my kids, they're 9 and 6, so I got a little ways to go, but I'll get to that in a minute. I'm literally making content on the internet that says fail on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I literally make content every day that says the reason I'm successful is because I failed my whole life.
Yeah.
I was a terrible student. I was told that I wasn't going to be good. Like nothing pointed to my success in the system I was playing in, except for me and my mom and in my head. So like I shit on 8th place trophies. I just posted a video. I literally posted a video this morning that I knew wasn't going to do well, called Fake Environments, and left a comment and said I knew this wasn't going to do well because none of you want to deal with this reality that if your parents pay just for your Uber, you're already living in a fake environment. Like I'm pushing. I'm about to get really unpopular because I'm going to write a parenting book that's going to make every single parent in America not like me. So I'm very passionate about this. And so what am I going to do? Let me give you an example of what I do. I tell a 5-year-old boy that he's not going to be in the NBA when he looks at me and says he's going to be.
Yeah.
Which then is going to create a reaction. Maybe he is. I don't know. But what I'll tell you is it's highly unlikely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm not giving him that DNA.
Yeah. Or it does create this resiliency,
Correct.
right? It's the no, not yet stuff that I love.
But I'm definitely not going to say, you sure are, little guy.
Yeah.
I wish somebody did that for me.
Somebody did what for you?
I wish somebody said that to me when I was 7, saying that.
Because you thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was 18.
Look,
You
as
are
a parent,
solid player too.
You're
But
good. You're good.
He's really, and you could see it because when he plays with us, or the couple times I've seen him play, he's rusty, but you can see it's there. But the fact that this fucking kid, if you knew the story of how this man is sitting here, how right, insane, like what he did to be here. Meaning, I gave a talk at Babson, how he kept reaching out. I challenged him by letting him commute for no money to Wine Library for a year.
There are a couple people here who are like that.
There's a lot of
right?
people.
Is that kind of your hiring method?
No, we do a lot of different things, but obviously these are my favorites. This kid had the ability to make no money and travel to New Jersey from New York to work at a liquor store for a year. Like, there's a million things, but the fact that I know all these things about him that I think are remarkable, and the fact that he was that fucking delusional at 18, that he thought he was going to be a basketball player, speaks to the power of fake environments.
Yeah.
The fact that he spoke up, and said, it's a big deal.
A couple things to add to that. I think we need to put our kids and our colleagues in situations that they got to figure it out. I used to have this fantasy that we would create a class at GE where I would send people to, I don't know, Akron, and we'd take their cell phone away and say, you got to figure your way back to New York.
I would
how do you do that, right?
I would dominate that kind of shit.
Because we got to, and with our kids too, we can't have them have all the answers.
There's a lot of people here that, that's what I do to my team. I don't tell Andy, I don't talk to Andy. Andy runs my team. I don't even talk to him. Andy, do I talk to you?
But that's the future. How do you figure it out? How it makes it difficult because he doesn't talk to you?
Well, no, because because I have to lose and win on my own and learn.
Yeah.
And then if Gary doesn't like something,
you'll hear about it. But that's also the candor that you need, right?
And I'm super I deliver vinegar with honey in and honey out, right? The way I manage is look, let's put this into context first. I fucking love you and cannot believe what you're doing. Now, real quick, what the fuck were you thinking about that dumb shit? And then and by the way, you're fucking killing it. Let's keep going, right? I'm boop, boop, because that's the truth.
Yeah, it's the truth. But the failure thing you mentioned, you're putting it out there, but what is it? We have this fail fast, fail small. No one really, you can't just fail fast and fail small. You have to take real risk. And I worry that people,
just to your point.
I know, it's just people aren't willing to take risk these days.
Beth, because we're living in one big fake environment right now. We bailed ourselves. We should just be coming out of a depression. Let's really play.
Yeah. Let's
talk about America. I don't want to speak. This is where I really know the answer to your question or your statement. We should just be coming out of a recession, a deep recession. We bailed ourselves out. The last 7 to 10 years, this is my world now, and you're close to it because you're a leader from a corporate world, which is startup culture is where I'm going. Beth, we're still in the midst of a world where somebody goes to a liberal arts school, is wired into the ecosystem of wealth, pops out, never sold a thing or has a business bone in their body.
And gets funded.
You're too smart for me. You didn't let me build it up. Literally comes up with an idea. Not only do they get funded, it's worth $4 million.
Yeah.
You're 22 years old. You thought of something. 999,000 billion quadrillion out of almost every time. It's a bad idea. But it is now worth $4 million. And people that are fancy and smart and Beth and GaryVee give you money to go. I mean, we are in a fake this is why I've look, you're busy, but I've evolved quite a bit through the years.
Yeah, no, you real have. It's been great to see.
At the height of my career in Silicon Valley, I started an agency. Let's start there before even my evolution. Actions, 2009. I have all the leverage. And I go start a client service business. All my Silicon Valley friends are, what's the matter with you? Want to talk about light bulbs? They're like, you could raise $100 million and what are you doing? To go make tweets for Linda Boff at GE. This is what was going on in the backdrop. I just wanted to be practical. I just didn't want a fake environment. I just wanted to operate.
Yeah, I like the way you're framing that of the fake environment. I think
interesting,
that's
right?
a really good one.
And why?
Is that way a lot in business too? I mean, this is what
look. You know where it really plays, and this is where in our little ecosystem, you want to talk about our kids. You have older kids.
Yeah.
If you ask me, the biggest fear I have, fake environment. Let me tell you what's really going on. This is just deep, and I want to get this off because I'm so passionate. It feels like the right time to talk about it. There are people out there who have startups whose daddy or mommy is underwriting it quietly. The only two people that know sometimes is mom and the son. Not even the dad knows that they're kicking cash to keep it alive because the mom or the dad or the kid or the boy or the girl, they all like the facade that little Johnny's doing well. Mom's kicking cash because she wants her friends to think her son or daughter is the next Mark fucking Zuck. I mean, fake environments. Yeah. And then kids complain, my parents fucked me up, but then don't take the money. And I'm talking about the gym pass.
Yeah.
Like, if you want your parents to have no say, a lot of times kids, I get a lot of family dynamics. Gary, I love you. You're right. Fuck my mom and dad. You're right. I'm like, be careful. Let's start over. Are they giving you money? Yeah. Well, then they have control. Then fuck you.
Yeah.
If you want to go to Soul Cycle every weekend and you're taking mama's money and you're not earning it, guess what? Mama's in charge.
What do people say back to you when you say that?
Fuck. They're like, they're
like, you got me. Is that
like,
it? It's
yeah, they're kind of like,
me.
damn it. I thought you were on my team. I'm like, no, I'm on the team of merit. If your parents are insecure and are making you become an engineer because it makes them look good at a cocktail party, they're bad. If you are mad at your parents for creating entitlement, but you're taking the cash because you want to go on the cruise with your buddies to fucking Ibiza, you're bad. I'm in the corner of the truth.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yeah. Yeah, you
Super
really
interesting.
have grown a lot.
You know what's funny? I've just communicated a lot. If you think about it, in our first interactions, I was pushing social media's ROI in a way that nobody was.
Yeah, I remember meeting you over breakfast at South by Southwest.
Yep.
In Austin.
Yep.
I think that was one of our first
It was.
meetings, and just your passion, and it was like clear you were going to make this happen.
100%. I do believe that people, it was interesting, I was listening to you and I had that feel a little bit. There is no question, things that I see every day that I'm like, oh, that person's legitimately going to will this to success.
Yeah.
It's starting off as a sushi restaurant and she might sell diapers in Afghanistan, but that is going to work.
Yeah.
That was a great question, Andy. Good job.
We have a caller. We can try and get
Do it. And I'll keep yapping a little bit. Beth, so this is not,
It's my first book.
It is, right.
Yeah. It's a
interesting
lot of
process.
work. It was a lot of work. I had
know.
a co-writer. Tal Ross is
Yeah, I
my
saw.
co-writer, so
It's
that was
amazing.
helpful
That
The
because
helped.
I
number
had
you
a
have
job.
dialed is
Go ahead.
No, so it was a lot of, because it's a very personal book.
Yeah.
I
You
had
got
to,
precious with it.
well, I just feel exposed a bit,
You
right?
get
So
precious
I'm
with it,
nervous
which is
about
fine.
it. I'm
Yeah.
nervous because
The
I
number
put
you
stuff out there that as a reserved person,
keep trying.
it was against my nature in
Yeah.
some ways to be so
Yeah.
open about
Yeah.
things. I put failure in it.
Yep.
So it was a very emotionally draining book in that respect because I had to really dig deep to go like, what was I feeling? Okay, you didn't really handle that well. Like I talk a lot in here about some tension, especially with a couple people, and I had to go back. It was so easy to go to what you're saying.
You
He
took
was
it
a
on you.
jerk.
Good for you.
But no, like
Who's this? Karen?
Hello? Hello?
Karen?
Hello?
Karen?
Hello?
Karen?
Yes.
This is
Hang on.
Karen.
Who
This
is this, please?
Karen. This is Gary Vaynerchuk.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Oh, hi. Yes,
I can.
can.
I think
Yes,
you're watching this right now, right? I can hear in the background. Could you lower it?
Oh, okay. Yes, sorry. Hang on. Okay, I switched it off now.
Okay, great.
Like the tone. Hello.
Hello, Karen. Say hello to Beth Comstock.
hi, Karen.
Hello, Beth. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Thank you.
Do you have a question for us?
Yes, I'm here in Vancouver, Canada, and I am basically trying to advocate for mothers who are professional mothers but who have been out of the workforce for a long period of time, 5, 10, 15 years, and they might have been mid-managers or senior managers, and they would like to go back to work. And now the question I have is, on a corporate management level, because that's where I'm going next. How do I convince somebody what you were at GE? How do I go to them and say, there's this mom who was amazing. She doesn't have paid work experience in the last 10 years, but before that, she was brilliant. So how do I convince them to take a chance?
Karen, I love this question, and I can also tell how hard it is. So, one, thanks for putting it out there. One, I would start with saying whatever's happened over the past. It's not that you were brilliant and then you went away 10 years and now you have to reestablish it. You're still brilliant. So, how do you package that? So some part of it is just packaging yourself. What are some things you've been doing? Maybe there's some things you've been working at your kid's school, at a community project that you could start to say, I've been doing marketing or I'm a community organizer. So some of it is just packaging what you've been doing and letting people see those organizational skills or those promotion skills or operation skills that you have. That would be the first thing. To what Gary was saying earlier to his team here, I think you kind of have to keep bugging people. You have to sort of get in their face a little bit. And to the story we were talking about earlier, you gotta, do some homework. Do some, look for companies where you see some of the leadership. In your case, maybe you'd look for some women leaders who maybe are moms. And maybe you'd find a conference where a couple of them are speaking and go ask them afterwards, like, hey, could I show you my resume? Is there someone on your team who could look at it? So try to do some homework and look for people who you think might just have a conversation with you and give you some feedback. The last thing I'd say is I feel better about the corporate world, that they're recognizing that there's great talent in mothers who've been taking care of their kids and not in the workforce. And so a lot of companies are creating job shares. I think with this notion of the quote gig economy, there's a lot more happening to give people project work. So maybe the first thing is, maybe your first thing won't be to get a job there, but can you take a project on that would allow them to see what you're capable of on a project component? And then it's a way to start to get them to know you and you to know them. I really think that's going to be the future of hiring anyway, where more of us in the corporate setting are going to be doing these kind of limited run assignments to see if we want to work together.
Okay.
Karen, I'm going to jump in here. Let me tell you what stands out for me. I think you need to focus on a couple things. One, as somebody who's been selling things that other people don't want to buy his whole life, the biggest thing, this is an important point that we need to tap into, Andy. The biggest thing that I will tell you is do not try to sell somebody who's not sellable.
Okay.
When something that is so right, like what you're saying, like I've always thought I was so right, and history would prove me out right, and that's been my career. But the problem is when you're selling something early, people don't see it.
Right.
You are so right. Like you're talking, I'm like, man, I want the next 30 people I hire at Vayner to be that, because managing a family is a skill and a half that maps so well to people management is everything. Like I'm in.
Yeah, they're doing so many things at once.
Yeah, so we've had conversations here about this because we think it's a white space. But I promise you that an enormous amount of organizations, call it 99, aren't interested in what you just said at this moment. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. I just know the game right now. There's a lot of pushback. What most people do, and whether it's 90% or 70%, it's relevant about 99 to 70, but I promise you it's higher than anybody would like to think. It's the sad truth of the reality of the situation. Regardless of that, most people, when they are so right on something so right, get ideological. They go into, I'm going to prove to that no that this is right, and they punch against a wall, versus spending all their time, to Beth's earlier point, of finding the yeses. And by the way, Beth and Linda Boff and Paul Markham were my yes in 2011. That was a big company named GE in a world that I looked around, and they said yes to social and Vayner and made an enormous bet on me. And so did Pepsi and Bonin and many, many other. I didn't spend a second. And Karen, I did not spend a second pitching my services to anybody that showed signals to me that they were in the no business. I wasn't ideological. I went to where there was opportunity. Beth is unbelievably right, and I will triple down on it. More homework on the people that are ideologically aligned with you on the importance of this. Like, do not get it twisted. It's a sad state of affairs. She's absolutely right that female leadership's going to do a better job for you. They're going to have more empathy. You're going to have a character once in a while like me, cool, but you've got to really look for that, and you got to look for my content that showed you that. I would live on LinkedIn and watch what people are putting out there, and then focus on 13 to 15 organizations that have given you signals that they're open to this, and get slowly but surely, and then when you prove it out that it works at, Google or Schmoogle or Corona or wherever, then you can start building on that case study. I am blown away by people spending all their time trying to convince the no's because it's like a fulfilled prophecy.
Yeah, that's such good advice. I tried to build my reputation as someone who was open to anyone with a good idea. And I have people who would just call me with send me a great email, and I'd say, I want to see you. I'm rare.
Me too.
I'm rare.
Yeah.
But to your point, we are out there.
100%.
Okay.
Karen, makes sense, right?
Yes, that is so helpful. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching.
Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye. So awesome. What else should we cover? What else should people know about this book? I really do want the Vayner Nation to go out and pick this up. I think this is going to be.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm really trying to give people a pocket of encouragement to just grab permission and make change happen. Don't wait for it. One of my quotes that I love in there is like, "Who are you waiting for to tell you it's okay?"
Did the person keep going?
No, your mother.
Keep going.
Your boss, your mother, Yoda, right? I mean, who are you waiting for? You're who you're waiting for. So that's the basic. And I just share little hacks of things I did. And
what was the story in there that you said this one was on me? You were starting to talk before we did the phone call about taking ownership, and when it was easy to say it was him. Give me the.
No. I mean, I have a particular chapter in there about the last time I was at NBC, and it was a very tense time, and I literally had just real arguments with one of the people I had to work with, and I share them in there, and I share it in the book.
The person's name?
Yeah.
And did they reach out to you?
Not yet, no. But what I had to do was to go back and put myself in his position.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine him at the time. The business wasn't doing well.
That's right.
I looked like a competitive threat that
That's
they
right.
had been planted from headquarters.
That's right.
I was challenging kind of tradition with the cool kid approach to digital, and I was coming in a bit like I'm the cool kid with all these digital tools. Imagine that, and me coming in there, and I didn't have that perspective then, and I wish I had. So that's some of what I was trying to do.
And for you at this point, and you've talked about it thematically through here, either you're born with it, it can develop, but once you actually tap into empathy, you can become unstoppable.
Yeah.
The reason I didn't get mad that nobody wanted to, and to this day, the reason I can deal with how much pushback I get because of I have to have empathy for, I have a specific personality type that on initial consumption is going to turn off people. And like, by the way, I need to say this. I wish I didn't. You know, I would, and I know it's funny you reacted. My team, no, listen, you get all the pros of being a character, but what you lose is you start to become disproportionately underestimated in your intellect. Nothing is ever talked about how smart I am. Like this is why.
But you couldn't have built what you've built without being smart.
Yeah, but it takes a while for people to like wrap their head around that, right? That's exactly right. But it takes time. Plus, you have to build it. So it means you have to eat shit during the game, right?
Yeah.
You know, to have the appetite to eat shit. Like to me, I like being.
But doesn't it give you a bit of a competitive advantage when people underestimate you?
Beth, it's the greatest gift of all time. I manipulate myself. I continue to suppress my own success because I think it's that big of an advantage.
Yeah, I think I can relate. I think as a woman in business, I had something similar in the sense of I had to work extra hard. I had
100%.
But I also think as a creative person,
that as well,
I had to fight against that. But being a woman, I was perhaps allowed to be a bit more creative. And I think sometimes, certainly in business world, creative men may have a harder time expressing their creativity.
I think that's right. You know, it's funny. You know, I looked at a picture. You know, it's really interesting. Because I'm an immigrant, because I wasn't born in this country, because boy, being Jewish in Eastern Europe, post-World War II, my family's stories are just unbearable. 10 years in jail, horrible. Like real shit. But it's interesting. I've always kind of leaned there. I gotta tell you, being an F student, I tap so heavy into the underdog thing, and it just makes so much sense to me. And what's so amazing is the internet, for real. I don't think we've quantified this yet. It's going to bring such an advantage to people that deal with adversity on the come up, and it's such a disadvantage to entitlement. Fake environments, you're in trouble. Adversity, you're going to win because the platform rewards merit. Yeah. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to get real interesting.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting. I mean, meritocracy is not real. It depends on who sets the standards. And I think I've just clued into that in the past few years, just as you see that. I mean, certainly the Me Too movement, women have been seeing this for a while. Who set the standards? I once did a panel with somebody out of Silicon Valley, and he said, we're not going to lower our standards, and that's why we don't have any more women.
Right.
And I was like, who set the standards? How do you know the standards couldn't be higher if you had more women? But this
is why I tell anybody who feels that they're being not at the seat at the table, aka anybody who isn't an old white male, right? I basically say the same thing to them, like, fuck them. Don't play their game.
Yeah.
Go create your own fucking game. You own it. The internet. Go. Like, right? Like, you're not getting money from venture capitalists? Go get money from high net worth individuals.
Yeah.
Like,
Makes you more creative.
Don't play the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, nothing, back to like some themes here, VaynerMedia was built on the fact that I didn't play the agency game. Like, I just didn't play.
It's driven you, I think.
100%.
Yeah.
And you know,
I love that about you, that you're still trying to disrupt and there's not much left to disrupt for some of them, but you're right, that you're still like that hunger, like I know a different and a better way to do it.
100%, because it's very real.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're on the right side of history.
Yeah.
And because I'm building this machine for myself.
Yeah. I remember you, like, when you were trying to get more into advertising, you're like, just give me a shot. Just give me a shot. Our creative's going to be the best.
100%.
And if it's not, we're going to come back and make it the best. And you did. Like, you just kept working it. I don't think people appreciate that is what it takes.
I think that's right. I think, you know, I'm so glad. I'm going to wrap up here in a minute. I'm just so grateful that you told that Ted Turner story. You can't imagine. I'm going to clip that. I think you're going to change a lot of people. I don't think, you know, I have a very deep understanding of what's going on with communication right now. I don't think you understand. I'm telling you don't. You're going to be so pumped because we're going to talk about this in 9 years. You don't know what that did.
Wow. Okay.
I'm telling you about this 30-year-old thing, Beth. Like I'm telling you, there has been such a broken narrative.
It's so interesting. Yeah. And I just pulled some photos of myself when I was 30 because there is something in my head about it. That was that story, but it's interesting you're saying that now. For me, now that you're saying that, I'm thinking 30 was a big year for me.
And you know, we got unlucky, and I'll say that you'll find it funny. I wish you were 31 or 32. I don't even narrow in on that. It's this. Almost everybody in this entitled environment thinks that they have to have everything figured out at 26, 29, 32, 31. Meanwhile, nobody has anything figured out ever.
No, I mean, by 30, I had been married and divorced and had a kid and was working on my second marriage and on my way to a second kid. And I didn't know what my job was going to be. I came from a small town where we didn't have a lot of connections, right? I mean, aside from my dad with, you know, the producer with a molar and grip hold, but you know, you have to get out and just try things and kind of be resilient.
Love it. Beth,
thank you for this.
Yes.
Thanks for all
Beth,
the support.
you get to ask
Thank
the question. In this show, the guest gets to ask the question of the day. So what's fun about the question of the day is we're going to get thousands of responses. Now, this is where you can go theoretical, selfish. Here's what I mean by that. You can ask a question where you can get a lot of insight. There's a lot of people watching. There'll be a lot of answers, so I tend to like to use it for focus groups. You can ask a random thing that's just been on your mind. It could be about something that's happening in culture, like on Netflix or on your app, or about the book or the concept or anything you want. What is your question of the day?
I'm going to go back to the question you got. What do we need to do to push for more creative problem solving in the world? What are your ideas? Who's doing it well? I'm just eager to learn people who are doing it well.
You guys want to mention, they can answer the question of the day on Twitter.
Cool.
There's a lot of podcast listeners.
Awesome. Please answer that question on Twitter. Beth, I'm super excited about this book. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I was close to the process of you debating it and doing it and thank you so much.
Thanks,
you're
Gary.
You're a real pleasure. You keep asking questions. We'll keep answering them.